Good morning and good afternoon to each and every one of our merry Marvelites. Welcome to Marvel Movie Talk right here on Geekscape, exclusively on the Geekscape network. As always, I am Christian Bladt. And to quote the great Jimmy Carter, our long national nightmare is finally over. We'll be discussing the series finale of Secret Invasion, the big jam-packed supersized 38-minute finale of Secret Invasion, joined as always by Nate Miller. Nate, thank you for being here. Thank you for being along for this ride.
I'm almost kind of upset at you for making me watch this show.
Yeah,
but
no, look, if you never forgive me, I'm not going to blame you, you know.
I have a lot of fun talking about it with you guys, so it's okay. But if you were just like, watch this show, and then I would be very upset with you.
I wish, copyright strikes and intellectual property rights weren't what they were, so that we could just like watch in a window and like the four of us just all talk while we watch it. I mean, that if we did like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 of this show, it would be so much fun. Maybe if I had people that wanted to give us money, we could do it like on Patreon and not have to worry about it. But as it is, we just do it this way, and it is more fun than actually watching the show. And of course, joining us, Michael X Shirley, getting ready for the Hellfire Gala, where we very much appreciate you being here as well, especially considering I believe I heard tell that you don't have running water at home. So thank you for making the time.
I just have an outhouse.
Well, you'll fit right at home as we talk about this show. And don't worry, Count Eric Connor will be joining us in a little bit. He's got some very high-powered, important meetings to attend to. So let's go around. And Michael, I'm going to start with you, because when we started, you were the one who seemed to like this show the most out of all of us. And as it went along, you were a little bit more positive. And I mean, you ever want to talk about the Bizarro universe, or, an alternate timeline, or in Star Trek, they call it the mirror universe. You being the one to like something while everybody else is like, oh, I don't know. I did not have that on my bingo card. So this episode does have some great contributions from Olivia Colman, but we're 6 episodes under our belt. We're all done. Your thoughts on Secret Invasion, sir?
I'm glad it's over. Yeah. It really kind of went.
I was like, where's my bell?
It went downhill for me. It kind of picked back up for me this episode. I was really alarmed by the new super powered individual we have in the Marvel universe. I find her terrifying. I don't like that Nick Fury is a wuss, and I hope he stays on that saber thing for a while.
Yeah. So just an overall relief that next week we don't have to watch this show. Is that what my takeaway should be from this?
Yeah, I really probably wouldn't be this far along if we weren't doing this show. I'd probably be still on episode like 4, because I don't know. It kind of, after episode 2, I was pretty let down, I guess I'd say.
But we continue. We're here for everyone. We're here for everyone in the chat. And it's a bad situation when I'm so glad that our pal Craig Robinson from across the pond is here. But when Daniel Drew's not in the chat, you're like, oh man, even he had to throw in the towel on this show. Nate, we got the finale we were all hoping for, in that it exists. But in terms of the content of the episode, I don't think it's what any of us were hoping for at any point.
I think so obviously this was supposed to be a movie, right? And instead of I don't think they even really did like a TV writing script breakdown of this. I think they just kind of wrote had the first draft of the movie that was 4 hours long, and just gave us that, and then just trimmed it here and there Like this finale being 37 minutes is like insulting.
I agree.
The series is so short. Well, like what invasion? Like the thing that happens in the name doesn't happen in the show. There's no like, Leo pointing at the screen moment, because there's like, it doesn't actually, you never see an invasion. We see like outside of the dead scroll bodies, we see like 4 scrolls in the finale episode, in the whole episode. Like
I'm just thinking about it. Yes, you're right. Yeah, what if they held an invasion and nobody came? Well, that's what happened on this show. Yeah.
And
should have been called The Secret Meeting.
And so now, like, Gaia is just like the strongest thing that exists in the Marvel universe. Like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Who okayed that? Who said that was okay? And then I don't understand how she beats Gravik. If they both have the same powers now, he's way more experienced in combat and ruthless.
Yeah.
Like, and she just, because she puts him to sleep, but then he's not asleep, but then she like hits him with a Kamehameha. Like, I don't know. It was all over the place.
Yeah, no, I agree. What were you gonna say, Michael?
I totally agree with Nate. I'm really, really weirded out by her being, I guess, our super scroll. Maybe if she turns bad, this might be fun, but her being like a good guy, it's kind of like, well, I guess she's just the new Avenger team herself.
Yeah, and the beat with her at the end and Olivia Colman, it's like, all right, so that's all the stuff we saw with Julie Louis-Dreyfus and some other things, So it's like, all right, so it's it's all building to something. You just hope it builds to something that was more fun than this. And look, I would say because of the superpowers that we saw used, the fight between the two of them, there definitely was. We talked a lot about them, saving money in the budget for the finale. And clearly that part, like, okay, it all looked cool. I don't know how much the fight made sense. I can't believe that you would give him the actual fight. And, at least they had the story point where he checks the vial and he's like, okay, it's all in here. And it is, because I'm just like, all right, you just like hand him like, I don't know, pure cyanide or something that kills Skrulls, and he injects it into himself and then he just drops dead and the show's over. Because I'm like, I would have taken that after 5 episodes of this show. If that was like, oh yeah, he was just dumb. He was like, he really thought I was going to give it to him. And to actually give him all of those powers seems like just a terrible miscalculation, and then for Gaia to have all those powers, like all the same powers. And yeah, it just didn't make sense. Watching the two of them fight, there was some cool stuff in it. Like Nate, you referenced putting him to sleep. I like that the little mantis antennas came out. There's like cool moments, which this show didn't have that many of those. So we got some cool moments and stuff like that. But and once again, I mean, it's like the president of the United States is being held at like a comfort inn, and he has like 4 guys with guns keeping him safe. The way in which they were able to get that close to the president of the United States, even though they were there to just kill a Skrull, I was like, yeah, this, at the very least, twice as many guys. That's really what, 20 guys in suits should be around the president if they're moving him in a hospital bed. And there should also be like 2 other hospital beds with guys who look like him. I know it was improvised, but yeah, it just doesn't add up. I mean, hardly any of it. And I don't know, Craig, as a regular that's in the chat right now and talking, I want your thoughts, the British perspective, if you don't mind. But I don't know. I mean, Nate, I agree with you. When I saw, before I even played the episode, that it was 38 minutes, I'm like, all right, there's no way this is not going to be disappointing, and I know we're supposed to care about that relationship with Fury and his wife, but they keep trying. You know,
Yeah.
they keep trying to make fetch a thing. It's not going to happen. All right, we're not feeling it between the two of them. And then
It
it's
makes
like,
it so much weirder too.
yeah,
Like I know like love is love and all that stuff, but like for humans, I don't know if I'm on board with the like Nick Fury is in love with his Skrull wife and the
right,
like
yeah, because it's not an issue of like a human falling in love with a Skrull. It's just like, does it seem like Fury would? You know, I don't know.
There's so much we
especially
didn't know.
What's that, Michael?
There's just so much we didn't know about him, I guess.
but
I
even
guess.
on what we do know about him from this, like there's this whole kind of through line of him kind of dealing with that he actually did use the scrolls and like never really had a plan for what to do with them. He was just like keeping them in his pocket.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of like, but that's fine. Do you want to come live with me on the spaceship?
And she's like,
I mean,
only
yeah,
for
it's
a
like-
moment. Just for
I-
a
and
minute.
then-
I got
and
work
then-
to get back to.
He has this plan with Gaia, who he's kind of been like at odds with the entire show. Even post her dad's death, she was still like, yeah, well, he was dumb and did it wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
Right, exactly. Well, Craig in the chat, thank you, Craig. I was really taken out of the episode with the hospital scene. It was a shout at the screen, "Why are you not shooting the Skrull?" moment. Exactly. You know, and like they clearly had storyboarded this really cool kill shot with the purple blood on the wall. But it was like, you could have gotten to that sooner, because it was almost like as soon as Olivia Colman sees him, well, it's like, he's a Skrull and I'm going to prove it to you by killing him.
Yeah.
And there's
earlier in the show,
always-
she shoots a guy in the leg.
Yeah.
And he turns
right.
green. Like,
Yeah.
so why not do that again?
And-
We've seen her do that exact thing.
I was thinking that too.
And the proof that we never know when a Skrull is among us is the simple fact that now one of the four of us may or may not be a Skrull. I mean, he's trying to get our attention. He has a skeleton behind him. He clearly peeled the skin off of that skeleton, and he's wearing it like Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs. I'm so glad I gave you that introduction. Count Eric Connor, thank you, and your Jack Black beard for joining us.
Of course, putting the lotion in the basket all day, all night.
So, I'm sure that you were blown away at how awesome and jam-packed and supersized with excitement this episode was, right, Eric? Because you're just joining us, so you clearly are assuming that that's what we were talking about.
Hey, listen, 33 minutes have never made an hour feel so good. And I checked. It was literally 33 minutes and then
of
credits
content.
kicked in.
Yeah. I know.
Wait,
There's
wait,
less credits.
No, it's even less than that because I had it previously on. So,
So it's
I
like a
realized my
good
math
30
was off.
minutes. Yeah.
Did
I know,
anybody
'cause-
else skip the intro and then still get stuck with like 30 seconds of intro? Like, what is
Yes.
that, man? I don't want to watch
Yes.
this crappy intro.
I decided to watch the intro because I knew that at no point in my life was I ever going to see it again. So I'm like, all right, I'm pretty much going to have to watch it one more time so that I can remember the bad AI open that they did, which, you know, in a few years, every show is going to have a bad AI.
I'll
open.
defend
You know,
that
it'll be-
though. I did not have problems with that opening. The opening credits. I actually found the music and the imagery kind of made sense for the show, but that's the least.
Well,
of my
I do
worries.
believe you're known in
for
some.
what?
I do believe you're known in
Yeah.
some circles, Eric, as an AI cuck. I think I've heard that. Maybe, but and I'm sorry that I tripped over Nate just to say that. What were you going to say, Nate? That was certainly more substantial than that.
It's a half truth.
That was a good joke. That was a very good joke.
Thank you. I'm very proud of myself.
I don't even remember what I was going to say now. All I can think
Well,
of
he
is,
was.
like,
Well, Eric was
being funny.
defending the AI.
Oh, yeah.
in the open.
So that would be fine if that was what the show actually was. But
sure.
the vibe that the intro portrays, which could be cool if the show matched that, but the show does not even come close to match like that.
Mm-mm.
Those dark strings and like all the face changes and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then you watch the show and it's like, I'm Nick Fury. I have scrolls. Okay, here's the most powerful weapon in the universe. Watch out for the dirty bomb. I'm going back to space now. Like,
I
That's
feel like
him
we
talking
knew.
into a landline phone.
Yeah,
this
flip
has-
phone. It's a
this,
flip
yeah,
phone.
phone.
this,
Okay.
yeah. It's high tech.
Look, if we all remember
Hello?
in Infinity War, he tried to call Carol Danvers with a beeper. All right, so obviously he's not the most cutting edge.
No,
Tech
but that was
guy
a
out
hold
there.
on. Remember though, that was a souped up beeper she made
Yeah.
for him in the
Yeah.
In the
90s.
90s.
No, I
So
know.
in his defense, he just holds on
All
to
right.
shit as
So
long
it's
as I
it's
do.
really Carol who's behind the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, and we'll circle back to get some of Eric's thoughts in. But how did they know the different power sets worked in that final battle? Sleep, and then Craig says, "Really?" Craig Robinson is not having it. So Eric, take us through because we're 15 minutes into the show, and the three of us are probably emotionally done talking about it. We'll continue, but we'll turn it over to you now. Go big picture. Your thoughts on the episode and what it says about the series that this is how it ended.
The episode firmly established shit in bed. So in the end of it all, it was what we thought it was. Unfortunately, especially, and it's funny because the wonderful Shirley and myself, like we were defenders of the first episode, I think, but
Sure,
it became increasingly difficult to defend this show.
Mhm.
And I at least will say this episode had some ideas that I don't think we're going to see a second season of Secret Invasion, but at least
God,
that
I hope
idea.
not.
No, but that idea of like the government tracking down the scrolls and taking them out. I mean, it's a very X-Men feel to it. And the idea that Nick and a select few have to protect people from their own government. I like that idea. It tucks it in right at the end. And I'm like, okay, so when are they going to use this? It doesn't look like that's part of the Marvels. So it's yet another thing Marvel has set up where Marvel, the way they've set up this last phase or two, it's like they keep spreading it out so wide and far. We don't even see how they connect. Even the multiverse, which they could connect hypothetically back to Loki, they don't. So I feel like they just keep throwing more crap into the pot, and I don't know how any of it's going to mix. So it didn't leave the. I did think it was a better episode than the last couple. I did like that fight scene. I saw. I think Craig had that comment in the chat about how do they know their powers, like sleep. It's a solid point. But I at least thought that fight scene was fun, and it was a couple of those. What was it again? $200 million budget. What was the number you told us last time?
It was 212. We talked about last week.
Yeah,
which was shocking.
212. At least I saw. Okay, well that cost a couple of bucks, and I thought in theory that was kind of a clever fight scene. It would look good in a comic book page. I don't know how good it looked in a TV show, but at least virtue of a decent idea. Finally, they gave What's Her Naked from Game of Thrones some scenes to play with, but this show it will be in the sort of the dustbin of history, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, well, let me tease next Wednesday at this time. We will be reevaluating all of our Disney Plus shows, and we're going to pick our three favorites and our one worst. So we will do that next week on this show.
Just one?
Well, you look, you can have six-way ties if you want. That's fine. There are no real rules, but yeah. So I agree with all of that. It's well, no, you know what? I saw a comment that I want to bring up, but I don't want to get to that point just yet. Sorry. So yeah, it's all very. It all seemed really small. It never felt like an invasion. It really, I know that $212. I mean, maybe the mantis antennas do cost a lot to render in CGI. And that was like, $208 million just for those, that would start to have it make some sense. But one of the most disappointing things, and there are many, is that Fury isn't really that different from when the series started. I was convinced we were going to have a very good arc with that character, and we were going to be happy with where he was in the end, and that is not that's not what we got. I mean, I think that, he puts on the coat and the eye patch in the last episode, but he's still kind of the whiny Nick Fury. The way that he approaches Gravik and he's, coughing and dropping the pills, I felt like, all right, this is definitely an act. I did not think it was Gaia, but I figured like there was some surprise. There was some ace in the hole, and legitimately I was surprised that was her. But I thought that was a nice move. And then Fury really was there at the hospital, which again makes it make even less sense to let Rhodey know that Fury's on his way to the hospital if he's actually there. I thought it was just a distractionary move. I don't know. Does it make sense? No, not really. Not much of it. I don't think. I think that it's, I don't know, man. It's so disappointing because it's not even one of those shows where you're like, sometimes you'll see a movie and be like, there's a good movie in there somewhere. There's a good story in there somewhere. This doesn't even really feel like, oh, they just missed it. They missed it in every way possible at every point on down from the budgeting. I think some of the casting is well done. I do like that, the actor who played Gravik. And of course, he's dead. So, there's a lot of disappointment along the way. So
I really wish
let's talk. Go ahead, Michael. Yeah.
I really wish there had been some like flashback scenes to kind of explain this big fight between them at the end. I thought that move to make him like sleep was really cool, but it would have been even cooler if like it flashed back to like Nick Fury like telling her like you've got to use like Mantis's like ability like at some point, like giving her like a clue of like these are things that could really like devastate your opponent. And I don't know, it was just really kind of rough seeing how that all played out and just assuming she knew everything about all of these Avengers and like how to summon what, like at what time. It's just, I felt like there was a lot of missed opportunity to give background, and so many things just weren't like really explained or tied up in the end. But I don't know. I liked that move. I feel like you guys weren't really a fan of it, but I thought it was smart. But like, how does she come to the conclusion that, this is how I beat him? And I guess, she does have the odds in her favor because she knows what she's going to do. And he doesn't realize there's going to be anyone that can match him that's coming for him. But it's all just kind of sloppy.
Yeah, I mean, this was the point we were making before you got here, Eric. It seems like a gross miscalculation, and we're talking about in the story, not from a creative standpoint, to give Gravik an actual vial that gives him the actual powers of the actual Avengers. I made the point earlier that at least they had him check it, because I was thinking like just put, whatever cyanide or whatever kills Skrulls and have him take it, and then he drops dead and the show's over and it would only be 22 minutes and it would have been great. But instead, they do that. But it just seemed like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, oh, the bad guy who wants all the powers of the Avengers more than anything, so much that he's willing to call off his invasion, or at least saying he is. Let's give him that just because Emilia Clarke is going to kick his ass.
They're putting all their chips on one person, and that's kind of that's not very Nick Fury.
Yeah, look, when in Passenger 57, when Wesley Snipes says always bet on black, that seems like good advice. When Nick Fury said always bet on Gaia, that does not sound like good advice. And he did. It's like literally the fate of the world is resting on her, who is not the most loyal person in this series. I think we can say that. What do you think about that decision, Eric?
Yeah, I don't see her as the greatest double agent to hire. It goes back to, honestly, it's not really much of a spoiler, but Homeland. I don't know if you guys watch that show, but second season, they took this guy who is a sort of brainwashed potential suicide bomber and said, "Hey, we're going to hire you to be a double agent." It's like, well, yeah, you know that guy like almost killed like a room full of innocent people like a minute ago.
Yeah.
It's a similar logic, right? It's like choose your bedfellows wisely. A lesson Michael Shirley and I, has taught me many times. And I think what happened here was it worked in terms of it was a kind of a cool moment. It doesn't make much sense. Character-wise, I see where they were trying to go. It's like Samuel L. Jackson after saying, "I'm the only one who could save the world my way." But then he finally like collaborates and relies on other people, in this last episode. But truth be told, we've seen him rely on other people before. Him and what's her name? Susie Sparkles from How I Met Your Mother.
Robin Sparkles, Maria.
Susie right. Maria. That was his partner. They were good partners. He's obviously relied on people before. So it feels like one of those, like, if they were aiming for some kind of Nick Fury arc, I mean, he's kind of had that arc before of actually working quite well with other people. So, it made for a nice scene overall, I guess, but it doesn't make, when you take a step back, you don't want to take a step back because it does not make much sense.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I'm happy about. Cami Egan's in the chat now. She's glad she finally made it, and we appreciate having her here. I think that, we've talked in the past on this show about how a lot of times these Disney Plus series operate in a way. The perfect example is before Falcon and Winter Soldier, we know that Sam is going to be the next Captain America. In that series, he decides he doesn't want to be next Captain America. Another guy becomes Captain America. But when it ends, Cap is going to be Sam Wilson. So you don't need to see that series, although I for the most part enjoyed it. So it's like they're self-contained in that way. It's like, well, let's reset everything right back to where we were in the movie universe. And I don't know. I assume we'll see Emilia Clarke at some point, maybe in the Marvels. I'm going to just honestly say I hope not. But
do we know who's the bad guy in the Marvels?
Yes, but I forget the name of the character. It's a gender swap. It's a character that was in the Silver Surfer comic as a male. And the reason we know is because the McDonald's Happy Meal toys for the Marvels are already in restaurants, and I got a pair of gooses for my kids. Yeah, because they're like, yes, thank you, you silly geese. They had their last one was the Pixar movie Elemental. So they decided, I guess, that the movie didn't do well, so they just moved on to November. But also, this movie was supposed to come out in July at one point. So
that would be it. I mean, think in terms of by the time they moved it,
whenever they do production, like toy production, like stuff like that, those dates are not movable.
Yeah, but luckily the Grimace Shake did not move. We all were able to.
I still never got the Grimace Shake. I don't want to talk about it. I'm very upset. But so we can kind of see that Kree Supremor Dar-Ben is a character there, number 8, and there's a Princess Carol, which I don't even know what that means. But we do see Nick Fury, and it's interesting that Goose is referred to as Marvel's Goose, so that you don't confuse him with Goose from Top Gun. I assume that's the only guess that I can have. But still never got our Top Gun Maverick Happy Meals. I was kind of expecting,
or Anthony Edwards in ER Happy Meal toys either,
or the Anthony Edwards blockbuster film Gotcha from 1985, where
in Ferrantino,
he becomes a spy. Yeah.
Personally, I feel like Nate for McDonald's Oppenheimer meals. Myself.
It's a meal that takes you 3 hours to eat, but you don't know why. Yeah, I said it. I fucking said it. In any case,
yourself. Hold on, I don't know if you have that power. I guess it is a black cast.
If he's Gaia in the in the Black Cast universe.
So I don't know if this is going to have any bearing on the Marvels or anything
It
yet
has
come.
to.
It should, right? Because it's going to have Nick Fury. So at the very least,
and
but
they
see,
just
that's the
set up
thing
that
too.
there's if there's
sorry.
supposed to be like peace talks between the Kree and the Skrulls, like that's a big deal, right?
Yeah,
So
right,
like,
agreed.
and then we know that the Kree are involved. Carol's doing something with the Kree, so like maybe Gaia goes there, and now that she's Super Skrull, she's like, actually, the negotiation has changed, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
true.
then it becomes a conflict. Maybe, I don't know. They have to do something with her. They can't just ignore her.
Yeah,
And
I don't
I
understand.
would go ahead.
I don't understand why, if she's got Carol's powers and she's a Skrull, she's hanging out with the people in Britain. Why isn't she going off to find her people a planet, since everyone wants to just get rid of them now? Like, that should be her job, like finding a place for them to live, if she has like every power.
Well,
that made no choice, no sense for her character. She literally did the exact same thing that her dad did, and then the only thing that is different is that we're going to be upfront that we're using each other. Like, it's still the exact premise that you complained about earlier in this same series, like less than 2 hours ago. you were like, wow, I can't believe you made this deal and didn't do anything to help our people. You just helped Nick Fury. And then this lady comes along, she's like, well, let's do the same thing, but at least you know up front that I'm, screwing you over. Like, what?
Right. No, I know.
Now that you're the most superpower being in the universe.
I mean, that's a great question. William Walton brings up this question. The decision President Ritson made is in declaring war on the Skrulls felt very Donald Trump. You can leave that part of it out there, but it is a decision that, Fury even calls him and says it's a bad idea. And I think that those are repercussions that will be felt in the Marvels. I'm going to ask each of you to react to that, starting with Nate. I will be ducking out for a moment, but I promise I'll be right.
Uh-oh.
What am I reacting to?
There is no God in this room anymore.
Oh no! Now we can just do whatever we want
and our own choices.
I will say, like, there is cool choices for where they could go from here. Like, this would be a perfect. This is why I wish they didn't call this Secret Invasion, because this would be a perfect point to launch into Secret Invasion later, because that's what happened, right? The Skrulls came and got beat up by the humans with powers, and then they're like, kidnapped them, stole some of their powers, got a Super Skrull, and then they're like, oh, now we actually can do this. So now Gaia goes, gets the rest of the Skrulls. She's like, I know how we can get a planet. We're going to take Earth. I'm going to help you guys get some of the powers and stuff that I have so we can impersonate the heroes. Then you get the real Secret Invasion of the heroes on heroes. You don't know who is who. Like, that would have been so cool, but I know they're not going to do that. And if they announce a spin-off show, I might lose it. I might end up in a rubber room if they announce like an Emilia Clarke
Secret Gaia
series. Yeah, like a serial week to week, finding
Secret
out
Garden.
who's the Skrull is. Yeah, and then also, what was that whole room? What was that whole room?
The one
with
that
all
looked
those
the Chinese checkers?
The one with all the people in the pods, like that they showed like, what was that? With like, where that was that in the same place? Was that in?
It was underground of their base.
So was it just more of the people they captured?
Yeah.
But why were they in totally different looking pods?
Yeah, exactly. My brain was like, is that Shield? Did she take them to where Shield had the people that their Skrulls were copying, or Nick's Skrulls? Like, I guess it makes more sense for that to be at the same place, but it just was very jarring.
Feels like they missed.
They
a lot
showed
of this
it
show
for a
felt
second.
Like
in a previous
quick.
episode, they had showed it really quickly.
Okay.
A woman was like in there.
Okay.
I think this is a show that feels like a lot went wrong in post-production, or maybe I should say a lot went wrong on set that post-production couldn't fix, because there's just whole scenes that feel like they're missing. There's characters that, like, even in this episode, I thought, like, I was talking about how, like, kind of episode to episode, it felt like the characters just kept shifting on us. And I thought Gravik in this episode was like a totally different guy. I mean, think back to episode 1, episode 2. It's a totally different Gravik. The way he plays it is different. It's a good actor. And I did send a lovely picture to Christian about this actor's other work in a recent epic blockbuster film. But
yes, I was glad that you isolated that, because
but I just Gravik, like, the way he was playing it was like so histrionic and loud and over the top in ways that the character wasn't initially. I mean, the dude in the first couple of episodes, that guy was cool. Like, he was creepy. He didn't feel the need to say much. And even like later on, you realize he's got some of these powers. Like, if anything, it gives you even less reason to talk. Like, if I'm able to kill like 5 other Skrulls like that, like, I don't really have to say much at all. But yeah, his whole like ranting and raving in this episode just was, I mean, really like felt like an acting exercise more than a scene. Yeah. Oh, here we go.
So you were talking about his inclusion in the Barbie movie is
Kingsley Ben-Adir was in Barbie, and thus the Skrulls have entered the Barbie verse, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, well, it couldn't be less entertaining than this. So, what I'm just saying. Yeah, I think it comes down to this. Cami Egan felt the show was too predictable. I think in kind of the worst way possible. Sometimes like predictable, and you're like, oh my God, that awesome thing just happened. I was really hoping it would. And I mean, it was just a bad feeling. And Cami Egan's got this theory, though, just like most Marvel characters, Gravik is not dead. I mean, if they want to use him again, they absolutely can. There's no reason that they can't. But is this a show they're going to want to revisit at some point? Are they going to want to revisit the themes of this? I
would think, if anything, he would come back to fight the Fantastic Four. Because when I think of them, I think of the Super Skrull.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, get an actual Super Skrull that just has those 4 powers. The 4 give us a proper Super Skrull, not a super duper duper Skrull.
Yeah. This is. He's significantly stronger than the Super Skrull that the Fantastic Four introduced.
Also, it's like, it's hard to imagine like getting samples of like everyone. Like, I know because it's the face off from Endgame, I guess, is where they explained it. But it's like, so everybody was just like
bleeding
everywhere.
Yeah, plus Ghost.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Just Captain Marvel alone, she's already like at the top. But also you've got Thanos, and apparently Ebony Maw's DNA contains his rings too. So like she's doing the flicky thing. But I will shoot them a little bit of bail and say that it does make sense to me that they would understand how the different power sets are used, because they have worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. for Nick Fury for so long, and his whole thing
fair.
Is superheroes. Yeah. So especially if Gravik was out there collecting stuff, like he at least would have an understanding of like what each sample was, who that person is, what the DNA contains. For Gaia, like I'm just saying that because she was part of the Skrull army thing too, that she has an understanding, like she's at least aware of these fights and stuff that happened and the intimate details. But yeah, that oh man, it's just like, even with the bare bones that we got, there could have been something really cool here if they had just fed it a little bit and stretched it out. Like if we had got to see flashbacks of Gravik with Nick and like in the trenches and stuff and being committed, and then got to see like him feeling like he's betrayed, and then him feeling like as he has to get more radical and reckless to get what he wants, he's also losing the people that he's trying to save, and so he's kind of like losing it. And then we get this kind of unstable Gravik at the end, which is part of the reason why Gaia is able to defeat him, is because he's like not all there. Then suddenly the ending feels a little bit more satisfying. But instead we have this really hollow confrontation between Gravik and Nick Fury, even though it's not actually Nick Fury. And like he apologizes and takes accountability and stuff, but then ends up it's not Nick, so it doesn't mean anything. Like it's literally meaningless. And then it's just like, all right, boom, powers. The show series ending, so we got to have a power set fight. I just like that shot of her with the Drax arm, like that's gonna get memed into oblivion. It just looks so ridiculous. Like, what were they thinking? Like that was nuts. That was wild.
I feel that I feel like Eric's already got a screenshot of that ready to work on some of his next project. And I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Michael?
I was just saying, who needs a Drax arm when you got a Carol Danvers arm?
I mean, it's not a bad point.
Or an ice arm.
Or like
ice spear.
Yeah. I know that when Eric sent in all of his extra credit, which has been, of course, registered, and, you know, it'll be reflected on your final grade, Eric. So we appreciate that. One of the things and it's come up on the show before, you wanted to tie this to the great film Enemy Mine, which we can see the poster for here.
Yes.
For our visual audience.
This poster in particular, I was getting all the Enemy Mine feels in that last scene with Samuel Jackson getting his shaft on with his little alien friend. And it made me realize Enemy Mine, if you reinvent it now, 2023, they fall in love with each other. That's a movie. Like, that's the movie I want to see.
That is absolutely a movie. And I suppose one of the sponsors of that movie would be something that I thought I just opened, but didn't. So it was going to be a really smooth transition. But instead, we have it here.
Yes.
So the Ozempic injection for Nick Fury.
Yeah, he lost weight. Remember, he had a bit of a gut in the first couple episodes, and suddenly the last episode, none. So I think the new face of Ozempic is, was Nick Fury with the eye patch being the O.
Yeah, he did look different in this one, but were you comparing the Gaia version of him? Obviously, that was going to be a little bit more trim. You know, she only has so much to work with.
But if you're taking on their shape, aren't you going to try and do like an accurate version? Like, I don't know, if you try to pretend to be me, but you're like 15-year-old me.
Yeah,
it's not going to work very well.
Space weight drops off real quick.
That's right.
Space gut.
So also, we were talking about some of the ways that the show felt so small. And Eric, I'm not quite sure why you sent this photo, but to me, it just shows that they had so little budget that they actually were miking the actors while they were rolling on set, and they included it in the show. But why did you showcase this?
Okay, think about, like, I once was in Vegas, and one of the Kardashians was there. And she was followed with 5 cameras, an entourage of at least 24 people everywhere she went inside the shops over at the Caesar Palace. And so I'm looking over at this, and this guy is a president about to go on camera. Yeah. And there's 3 people in the room getting him ready. And I mean, that's not even for like the smallest of film sets. I mean, you have more than that. So I looked at this, and I was just like, I understand sort of hiding a budget, but to grab some of the people on the crew to just get in there and set up some lights then. Like, this is one of those, like, it's very easy to make this thing look a little bit more, like, believable. But it's strange. You mean
so basically you mean not shots like
wait, do you have the moment before this?
I thought that's the one. Well, they may have come in.
Yeah, he came out, and it was the funniest moment where he comes out and he's like shielding his eyes from the sun. There, he shields his eyes from the sun by going like this, and then a second later, his hands down, and he's looking right at the sun. And it's like, by the way, I did a little homework on this. I realized the same director, I think, directed all 6 episodes.
I think you're right. Yes,
which surprised the hell out of me, because honestly, like, the way the performances veered all over the map, the sort of quality of action directing, which also seemed to shift from episode to episode, like, I was stunned by that. because I thought, if anything, the thing this did not have was any kind of sort of continuity, sort of visually or in terms of like the approach to performance. And so, yeah, when I saw it was all of them was by one. And by the way, the last episode on IMDb is currently sitting with a 6.1 review from the people. Out average, I think,
is that out of 10? Eric, is that out of 10?
Out of 10. Yeah, the other episodes tended to get around 7.6, 7, all at least 7. But this last episode, I think we're not alone in our feelings.
They must be using whatever that new math is when they tabulate those.
Yeah.
And then this image, I feel like we got to see Nick Fury, or Gaia pretending to be Nick Fury, sitting on the Dial of Destiny from the latest Indiana Jones film.
I was thinking Chinese checkers, but I like Dial of Destiny more.
Did I get through all the images? I don't want to leave anything behind.
All the news that's fit to print.
No laugh left behind, and we were very glad to see that our pal Daniel Drew, he has a tardy slip from the front office, so it's okay. But he does make the point we all did. It was way too short. I feel like they must have cut a lot of scenes from this show. I mean, maybe they cut from the script. I doubt they filmed things. You know, it definitely feels like it could have used some more. But I don't know. Some of these Disney Plus shows are so short that I don't know. I think that I don't know. Let me ask each of you. Nate, do you think that they cut things out? I don't, like I said, not they filmed anything, but that they didn't use, but maybe they were just like, oh yeah, we're cutting some corners and we're not going to film half of this script.
I think there was some stuff that was cut out. But I honestly think most of it is just, I think it was just a really long first draft film script, and then they just kind of made weird divides to it, and then didn't really spend a lot of time polishing the overarching like story. Like, it really feels like Maria and Talos like kind of died for nothing. Like,
yeah,
they ended up getting the powers. Like, that was his whole goal, and even though it wasn't Gravik, like, Gaia has it now, and we still don't know what's going to happen with that. Like, I just don't know. Like, it's just so much unresolved that it, especially to find out that one person directed all of these episodes, and to be like, yeah, send it in.
Yeah.
Like,
that's my vision for this project. My singular vision is that one. Yeah, exactly.
That's rough.
Yeah. What do you feel, Michael? Do you feel like was alleged in the chat that Daniel feels like, oh, they there had to be more that they filmed, or did they just come to an invasion with a spork and they were not equipped to fight off this invasion, Michael?
For me, I feel like they didn't film enough. If they did cut stuff out, I assume it was probably the good stuff. Stuff that might, I don't know, give away or lend to other properties they maybe just wanted to pull back on. I did not know that this was supposed to be a movie, so I'm still just trying to wrap my head around that. Like, if I can't imagine a worse Marvel movie, and I've seen Elektra.
Oh, well, speaking of Elektra, let's just say tune in 2 weeks from now. But anyway, but yeah, I thought it would be more appropriate to we're going back next week and ranking our 3 favorite Disney Plus shows, and everybody has to come with a worst, for at least a personal worst. And Nate did ask a question. We're allowed to have ties for worst. It's okay. But how
about a 7-way tie?
Look, it's speaking of new math, we'll use Connor math. However you want to do it, it's fine. But yeah, it's all in all, this is just really disappointing. I mean, this is $212 million over 6 episods is probably not as much as we think it is, but it's enough where we should have gotten more than this, and it's very disappointing. I would have wished that instead of making it into a series when they canceled the movie. They were just like, yeah, we're just not going to tell that story, at least not right now. It seemed like a good idea, you know, and they were like, oh, we're going to do this as a series instead. It seemed like it would lend itself to that. But yeah.
It
And,
needed more superheroes, you know, to match up kind of with the way the whole Secret Invasion comic book came about. Like, it's just so far away. This show felt the least like a Marvel property to me out of all the things we've seen.
I think that could have been its strength if they had if this show didn't feature Nick Fury, like he just came in like in the end, and it was really just about the Skrulls and filling in gaps of what we don't know from the time from Marvel before and to now, and like establishing the different sects of Talos and Gravik going different ways, and then Talos like operating with Guy on the inside, trying to like, if they had just focused on that, and then in the end, Nick Fury comes down from the ship out of shadows and like kind of creates this nuclear situation and trying to solve it, that would be very different. But the thing that I think could be strong for these shows is for them not to be Marvel movies. And I feel like this was trying to be a Marvel movie. I mean, obviously that's how like the concept came up, but it tried to inject that like Marvel movie-ness into the show without it having the characters or like the, you know, the moments that make like Marvel movies like what people enjoy. Even sometimes when you have like these shallow character developments, like they're at least connected in the through line of the movie, whereas this show felt so disjointed that you didn't get, there's just no satisfaction in the conclusion. And then even along the way, you're not feeling like at least I'm enjoying the storytelling. Like there are some shows where you watch it and like the ending is like, well, that sucks. But at least like the episodes along the way leading up to that were cool. It was exciting, you know, when you didn't know where it was going to go. But this way, it just fails on both ends. Knowing how it ends, like, how do you have an espionage show that doesn't have any type of reveal of like, actually, this was my plan, and you thought it was this way, but it's actually this guy, and this person works for me, and like, he just completely avoided any of that. Like, Nick Fury did not get established as this big master spy leader guy. He just kind of was like, came down, didn't really do anything to help solve the problem, except for maybe like stop Skull Rhodey, I guess, and then like help them free those people, but then created a larger problem that we're going to have to deal with, and then was like, all right, now that the Skrulls are being hunted, I'm going back up to space. See ya. Like, what?
Yeah, I think it's going to require some further examination of the proverbial patient. And our pal Daniel Drew sent me what he thought the series should have been. And Daniel, I am going to read every word of this, and we will condense it and have $1 billion budget over 2 seasons. By the way, I just looking at that, I'm already not opposed to it, Daniel. We will revisit that next week when we're quantifying all of these Marvel Plus.
Daniel, write a pilot script and we'll do a reading of it.
That's a great idea, and we'll have not one but 2 geese in it in the script. So there they are. You see, because of my virtual background,
he's cute.
Yeah, right.
Double geese.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't know what the repercussion is going to be, and I'm not talking about for the MCU, the actual storytelling. I mean, for Disney Plus series, there's no way that Feige or anyone else is happy with the way this turned out, and they've already dialed back the output for the number of series that we're expecting to have this year. We know we're going to get Loki, and I don't think we're getting anything else this year.
Echo.
Even Echo. Echo is this year. Okay.
With the talk is they're dumping Echo all at once, right, Nate?
That's right.
Yeah,
like in November after. Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely. Yeah.
Echo Week is going to be stellar.
Echo Week will be fun.
Yeah,
Are we not getting X-Men 97?
That was next year, I think.
I think that's going to be next year. I'm speaking specifically of the Disney Plus live action shows. But when we get X-Men 97, and my pal Frank Moran, who I do all my Star Trek shows with, who works on that show, when he can finally talk about it, it'll be great. He won't even say what the show's called. I'm like, well, it's called X-Men 97. He's like, I can neither confirm nor deny. And I'm like, all right. It was great talking to you. Cammy Egan's got a 2-part question. Well, no, one question. When is Loki coming out? I have a feeling Echo is going to be a hot mess. It's in the fall. I don't know if it's September per se. By the way, this is the first time where I've opened Twitter and I have the tabs, and the tabs are marked X because, as we all know, X gonna give it to you, and Elon gonna give us X. So
I think Michael should too.
And
oh my gosh, you were the first one to be Michael X Shirley. That's right.
No, you're now Michael Twitter Shirley.
Yeah, it's available now.
What a great idea that is. Loki season 2 will release on October 6th, 2023. Much like the first season, episodes will release on a weekly schedule. So that's according to Variety, that rag. In any case, so we'll have that to look forward to. And sorry, Daniel, I beat you to the punch. First time ever that I got to something before Daniel did. But yeah. Give myself a bell. So and that means that we're gonna have that lead right into the Marvels, and there'll be a flurry of excitement from October onward. Michael, are you gonna watch season 2 of Loki? We know how you feel about Loki.
I mean, I'm not gonna get any screen time if I don't, I guess.
That's
I'm just gonna have to do this with you this trip.
Yeah, so that's it's 2.5 months of fill-in shows and theme shows, but I'm excited for next week where we revisit all these Disney Plus shows, and we can also take stock of what's still to come, like the new Daredevil and what that'll mean and all of that. But excited to chat with all of you about this show. Even if I was not excited to watch this show, Eric, before you popped in, I was saying that I wish that we could have violated copyright reasons and still done the show. We're just like the 4 of us would be off to the side and the episode would be playing in the big screen.
Well,
and
Mystery
we would all
Science
watch it
Theater.
for the first time. Yeah, a little Mystery Science Theater. Exactly what I said.
think we should do that for Elektra. I mean, I think that you and I have not seen Elektra. I think that's the way we Elektra.
I'm pretty sure that that you know, regardless of what that film is, I think Fox would not want us to share their intellectual property. So
I think they'd be more than willing to be like, no, just take it.
We'll discuss. But that's 2 weeks. Next week is going to be our reevaluating all of the Disney Plus series, and I might reach out to a few pals and let them submit their lists. Mostly, I'm interested in what people liked the least. Anybody who doesn't say this show, I'm ready for them to explain. I know there's reasons why, though, because I know, Nate, you didn't watch all of Ms. Marvel, so you could say that that's the worst because you gave up, but it's up to you. So
Ms. Marvel, you have to watch it though, Nate. Like I think
I don't.
have to.
I literally.
No, he doesn't have to. I'm not going to.
I watched this show.
Dad, you said I had to watch it.
Okay, but here's what I'll say: if you could have chosen an either or thing, I think you would have been less disappointed if you'd chosen Ms. Marvel. But this one, it seemed like the potential was there. But joke's on us. It actually wasn't. Great question. Mystery Science Theater question from Cammy Egan. Which one of you is Tom Servo? I don't.
I'm Crow.
Look, I'm not here to name names, but I think we all know who Tom Servo is. In any case, thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody who has been on this 6-week ride for us right here on Geekscape. We will continue doing this show. I told you, Marvel Movie Talk will be back next week. And I'm going to just leave Eric in the big screen. All right. Fine. Whatever. And we'll be back talking about all the Disney Plus Marvel Universe shows. And in the meantime, if you want to keep in touch with Big Head up there, Eric, where can people find you?
Count Eric Connor, still over at Twitter, Twitter, and as well as Instagram.
And Nate, if people want to send you condolences for watching all 6 episodes of this show, just imagine if there had been sex in this episode. That would have made it so much worse.
Would have been more interesting.
It's true.
Sure.
Scroll on scroll action. That's true.
Yeah. If you want to commiserate about how bad this show is, you can do that with me on Twitter. I'm not calling it X. Dog like Nate with 2 G's.
And Michael X Shirley on X. Where
Yeah,
can you
on
be
X.
X'd? If people want to X your X's, where do they X?
Everywhere else, you can find me at I Hate Michael Shirley.
But what about on X?
It's Michael X Shirley.
Yes. You should be Michael X 97, Shirley.
Elon's going to issue you guys a cease and desist.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. Please subscribe to the Geekscape YouTube channel and catch all the content that they're posting every week. They have a very thorough wrap-up of San Diego Comic-Con. They did daily episodes from there, and there's a lot of great coverage from our pals at Geekscape. The only reason I'm sorry I wasn't there is that I didn't get to hang out with our Geekscape friends, but maybe next year, wink, wink. I would love to go. It would be fun to see everybody down there. So, but if you want to catch up on everything that happened there, make sure you stick right here for Geekscape. And you can find my personal podcast, The Blackcast, BLADTCAST. I have a YouTube channel of the same name. That is all the time we have for now. We'll see you next week. Same geek time, same geek channel. And as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior.